Howdy folks, Jamboree here. In this episode of Puppet Panic, we're going to be diving right into a 90s puppet show based on the iconic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a franchise that's had many different iterations over the years, each one varying in quality. Unfortunately, the next mutation is one of the bad ones. Now, sure, I've read that many 90s kids loved watching this show growing up, and consider it to be a nostalgic classic. All power to those millennials who have a special place in their heart for it, but I personally have no such affection for the series. I must preface first though, that while I have seen lots of different turtle media, I would not call myself an expert on the franchise. I'm a casual fan who has sometimes dipped my feet into parts of the series, and I only grew up with the 80s cartoon, which is now a blur to me in my 30s. In this show, a female mutant turtle heads to New York to help Raph, Mikey, Donnie and Leo take on a bunch of villains with evil plans. Oh, and the boys nickname her Venus. There are many reasons why I found this show to be a slog to sift through. For starters, it's painfully repetitive. You see, it milks the same formula for nearly every episode. Yeah, that was kind of the norm for 90s kid shows back in the day, but this series takes it to another level. Said formula is basically, the turtles are hanging out or training, the villains suddenly attack, we get a fight scene, everyone retreats, then the turtles argue about what happened, while the villains monologue or whine in their lair, and then the turtles end up beating the villain in the last 5 minutes. Heck, there's a couple clip show episodes, and these compilation specials really expose the copy and paste rhythm of the whole show. If you asked me which episode a clip came from while watching these clip shows, I'd honestly be scratching my skull for an answer. Oh, we also get a few 4 or 5-parter episodes, which, despite being framed as long story arcs, are essentially the formula I mentioned before rinsed through 5 times, but with the same villain of the week every week. Those are the hardest to sit through.
It's green time!
Another achingly distracting issue of the show, perhaps the most obvious one of all, is the constant freaking noises.
Nice, but I was thinking of something more like this.
Maybe Leo is suffering from shell shock.
In a desperate bid to keep kids' attention, every single episode has non-stop cartoon sound effects every microsecond. I'm not exaggerating this for drama. The show can't go one single moment without playing obnoxious bells, whistles, boings, or whips.
Oh, the Johnson Vector Mongo Zip Resplitter with an atomizing auto-cooler and bot drive. A mutagen reanalyzing sub-franchise cocaine strip. Cellular regeneration cartridges.
Even the opening credits have sound effects! These goofy sounds aren't just insulting to kids' attention spans, and very grating to listen to, they also ruin so many scenes. From killing the tension of martial arts fights,
use your magic,
to ruining the emotions of a tender scene intended to move us.
The vampire is right. I am not a shinobi.
nonsense. The Nightwalker is manipulating your emotions.
Well, she is doing a good job.
What makes the show even noisier is the constant annoying chitter-chatter of the characters themselves. They're either sat around making the same 2 or 3 turtle puns, forcing catchphrases out of nowhere, or ceaselessly bickering until they end up repeating their arguments ad nauseum.
I've been having these dreams, Raph. We need to find a new way.
I know! You keep me up all night blabbing in your sleep!
In between all of this noisy racket, we get pointless montages to fill out time instead. Whenever the turtles travel somewhere, the show will spend a gratuitous time on showing off the vehicle of choice, as the turtles overexcitedly shout and scream catchphrases on the road.
Delicious!
Mess with the green and it gets me!
It's all just flashy filler to help the episode pad out until 20 minutes. That's the thing, this show is so dang wasteful. Like, every time an episode opened up with an interesting premise, I would watch said episode slowly but surely completely fail to live up to said story of the week. For example, there's an episode where mad scientist Dr. Queese befriends Donatello as they bond over science, something Donatello can't do with his siblings, sparking an episode about unlikely friends. But Queese is such a one-dimensional and predictable character that Donatello comes off as extremely stupid for thinking that they're really friends.
You're hanging out with a loony? So much for recycling, huh? Aww.
Another episode invites a blind man to live in the sewer with the turtles, which could have inspired a story about mutants and humans connecting on deeper levels. However, What we get instead is just a bunch of outdated Mr. Magoo-style blind man jokes.
Man, this feels like a ping pong ball. Where are we? Toys galore?
Don't throw that!
He threw it!
Like I said, wasteful. Now, you may be hoping that the saving grace of the show is the martial arts, a very important aspect of a ninja TV show, but I can't say that the fights are any good. Yes, you can tell that skilled martial artists have been hired to play the turtles' bodysuits, but it's so obvious that said talents aren't going to great use. The common problem is that the turtles' opponents are frequently bumbling idiots or fragile little petals, leaving our heroes to carry the fights themselves. I get the strong impression that the showrunners were very nervous about upsetting parents. And yes, the goofier choreography is going to make kids laugh, but at the same time, it does come off as insulting to what kids can handle.
This is called a ninja tickle torture!
Pinch me, I think I'm dreaming.
And I kind of feel sorry for how much the show humiliates the stunt performers, just to bubble wrap the threat of the villains.
I think someone's had an accident.
Just because your audience is made up of kids doesn't mean that you have to be delicate about all the fights. Children watch action shows for the action. The editing for the fights is abysmal too. All the shot cutting is so wonky and crude that the already awkward stunt choreography is made even worse. I even tried to slow fights down while editing this video and still couldn't grasp what the editor was going for. The only time when we get any decent fights is when the turtles take on their robot clones, because they finally have to face their equals. I'm not saying that these are amazing fights in particular, they're just better than the average battle we get in a typical Next Mutation episode.
Ow! Whoa, missed me.
Here you go, Robo Venus!
So what makes Next Mutation special? Well, first of all, April and Casey don't exist in this show, which isn't inherently a bad thing, but I can imagine it annoying hardcore fans. Plus, their absence in the series also means less turtle and human interaction. I always felt like something was missing from Next Mutation, and maybe it was the lack of human characters to help bridge the turtles to society. Venus takes their place as the straight character who plays off the silly boy's immaturity. The problem is that Venus takes this role too seriously, coming off as a wet blanket every episode, as she ruins the fun atmosphere with her salty over-immaturity.
What I see is raw aggression. I don't know how you've mastered the ninja arts with such angry souls.
Then, in fight scenes, she becomes a completely different character, cracking jokes and goofing with the boys.
May I have this dance?
I'd be delighted, sir.
Oh yeah, who said dancing wasn't a total kick?
Yeah, I like this Venus, but where did she come from? The show really didn't know what to do with a female turtle, and it shows in every episode, with characters always commenting on her looks and drawing attention to her being a girl.
Oh, isn't she cute?
A girl turtle? A girl turtle? Oh, thank you! Dreams do come true.
In the second episode, the boys uncomfortably hard flirt with Venus, and this is before they even know whether they're related to her or not. I get that these are hormonal teenagers, and Venus does get to call them out on their creepy behavior, but dang is it a bad way to introduce Venus to the gang.
You're a full-fledged mutant hottie.
Do not call me mutant or hottie.
Even though all the turtles are named after respected Renaissance painters, Venus is named after the Venus de Milo, a piece of art made by a man. She could have been named after any classic female painter, like Frida Kahlo, Georgia O'Keeffe, Angelica Kauffman, and many, many more. But no! They had to objectify our female turtle character even more.
I call this picture Venus de Milo with Dead Angel. Mwah.
Okay, one more thing about Venus, I promise. The show gives her magical powers called Shinobi, but what annoys me is how inconsistent her magic abilities are. One moment she's pulling a spell out of nowhere and conveniently performs it perfectly.
Now you see her. Now you don't. Gotcha.
But another time, she's clumsy and useless. Her skill level all depends on what the episode calls for. I never felt like she was growing or improving, just randomly switching between beginner and master.
Pretty.
Anyway, talking about undignified portrayals of characters, TMNT fans are not going to like Next Mutation's take on the franchise's most beloved villain, Shredder, aka Orokosaki. When we first meet him, his costume looks like it was brought from a Halloween discount store, and his actor is very clearly miscast, because his height is too average to be imposing, and his face reveal is woefully underwhelming for a scary masked villain. Nothing against the actor's natural looks, he just doesn't fit Shredder. It gets weirder though. Out of the blue, Venus uses a spell to take Shredder out of Oroku, making Oroku weak and useless. And this happens just minutes after the show introduced Shredder.
Rokusaki, I call you forth to unmake what you have become. The Shredder is no more.
Then, the show later brings Oroku back for another episode, makes him suddenly much taller than before, then flip-flops between giving him a redemption arc and turning him evil again.
I should not have tried to help you. You are without honor.
Honor is for peasants. I am the Shredder.
Jeez, I feel so sorry for fans who felt disappointed by this version of Shredder.
Isn't it enough for you that your freak disciples destroyed my clan and turned me into a trembling beggar?
So what about the other villains in the show? Well, they're mainly played for laughs, leaning more towards silly than intimidating. Look, I'm fine with comedic villains. There's nothing wrong with a villain being funny, but I cannot say that any of them come off as effectively threatening as antagonists. Dragonlord can be a little imposing, but even he has his shticky moments.
Then we will look up our new little green friends and crack some shell.
The actors for the villains are also two extreme ends of the acting spectrum. They either go for stilted underacting or obnoxious overacting. Like, some actors have to wear heavy cartoony makeup or monstrous masks, but most of them don't really live up to set large personality costumes. Especially Simon Webb, who comes off as too uncharismatic for an old crazy mad scientist.
Note to myself, I've just encountered a large bipedal turtle. A talking turtle. Scheduled meeting with psychologist next Thursday.
Then, on the other side of things, we have Scott McNeil as Bone Steel. A performance that becomes grating very fast, because it's way too over the top and try-hardy.
Take your stinking paws off her!
Shut your yap! Wait! I'm talking to a turtle. Even weirder, the turtle's talking to me.
Yes, he's one of the only actors in the show to pull off being a live-action cartoon character. A tricky style of acting, but Bone Steel's scenery chewing is just too much for me.
You're a very popular little organ, aren't you? I wonder how you taste fried up with some garlic and onions over a mesquite flame. I suspect you'd be a little chewy.
The only actors that find a middle ground are Gary Chalk as Silver and Clara Cavell as Van Mee. Both have fun as campy baddies, but never go stupidly overboard.
You won't get away with this!
Oh, you can catch me if you want. Or you can rescue the she-shell. Pick your own adventure.
Fools! What did I do? Why did you wake me? Why didn't you rescue my heart and bring it to me in China?
Now, let me play nice, and share a couple things that I did like about this series, which is admittedly a very hard challenge. Well, I did enjoy the show's theme song. Yes, Euro Dance Pop was a weird choice for a TMNT theme.
We're gonna fight, we make it right, we won't stop till the morning light.
But I never skip the theme song every episode, because it's so dang catchy and fun. This TV show doesn't deserve an intro this super memorable and entertainingly upbeat.
We're fantastic, never panic.
One other thing I liked about Next Mutation was the way it expanded on a few villain minions in the show. We're actually given sidekicks who break the mold of their trope and begun something more. Like, while I did find Wick's screechy voice very annoying,
If we return to the zoo, they will follow.
Brilliant!
We can lure them into a trap.
Double brilliant!
I did like how the show kept hinting that he wasn't actually that fond of the Dragon Lord, and all of the Dragon Lord's abuse was pushing him further and further towards betraying him. In one episode, Wick turns out to be a fan of Mikey's radio show, which preaches against evil fascism. This annoys the Dragon Lord, but Wick offers to set up a fan club trap for the big-headed Mikey. So Wick falls into this fine line between serving his master out of fear and being a genuine big fan of Mikey's DJ show.
Everyone in the rank has taken to calling him Weenie Lord. We'll be in touch. Not bad, eh, Majesty? Well, I had to make it look good.
Making for a fascinatingly conflictive character motive for a minion.
Does this mean you're not my fans? Actually, we do love your show. It's just that Majesty wants to eat you.
Then, in another episode, Wick ends up drinking one of his own potions, which gives him superpowers, resulting in an episode where villain and minion switch places, making for a refreshing change of dynamic for the show.
Every sandal attached to a bell. I'll use it to summon you. Marvelous.
And a twist that we saw coming after many episodes of Wick being bullied and losing his loyalty to his master. There's also an episode in which we meet a good dragon who hates working for the Lord, but when I say good, I don't mean some noble hero. Interestingly, this renegade dragon is morally ambiguous and has no sides to pick.
There's no shame in being good.
I am not good.
It ain't the size of the sword. Whoa, steady there, big fella.
He just disagrees with the Dragon Lord's motives and hasn't been brainwashed into his cult. I also find it tragic that he eventually surrenders himself to a glass prison. He could have joined the Turtles gang as an ally, but he's just too neutral-sided and solitary to be a true hero.
I must return to the glass prison.
Prison?
Whoa, hey, that seems a little harsh, bro.
I don't belong in this world.
For a show that follows a simple heroes versus villains formula, I was pleasantly surprised that it gave us a character who challenges the very notion of good and evil. I would have gladly okayed a season 2 of this show just to see where his arc could have gone next.
Someday your reign of evil will be over, and then I'll return. Peaceful dragons will live in harmony with humans.
Last of all, let's talk about the puppetry. The showrunners reused puppet suits from the 90s live-action films, so all the credit for their creation goes towards far more talented people. Next Mutation isn't even very good with these animatronics either, because you can always tell that the lips are out of sync with the voices. It's quite distracting.
How can he not see what a totally rad opportunity this is?
I'm with Mikey. I mean, who says mutants can't be rich?
Bionic, smooth-a-phonic. Everyone chill.
And it's so obvious that the showrunners were unconfident with the animatronic heads, because they rely very heavily on the bodysuit actors to convey emotions, leading to super obnoxious arm flailing and giddy bouncing around. All due respect to the bodysuit actors, it's a tasking responsibility to perform in a sweaty rubber suit, but their overacting feeds into the already annoying personalities of these versions of the Turtles.
Clubs, chains, blades, nunchucks. Check it out. We're a green quake.
Whips, crossbow, slings, shuriken, we mastered them all.
We'll pull our vibes together. Free our spirits the way we always have.
Sure, we do get a few original puppets, but they have the exact same problems. Remember when I mentioned that episode with the robot clones though? Well, these animatronics work well into that episode's premise, because well, they really are robots. So kudos to the showrunners for embracing the mechanics of their stars with a wink to the audience.
Michelangelo clown, step forward. You're mega.
To conclude, TMNT The Next Mutation has to be one of the worst kid shows I've ever seen. It's child-pandering junk food entertainment, packed with unlikable heroes, mixed bag villains, lackluster action, misogynistic writing, constant loud noises, and so much wasted potential. Children deserve so much better than this kind of lazy, insulting trash. How could have Next Mutation been better? Well, turn it into the story of the boys meeting their long-lost sister, and how said sister finds her place in their life. Get rid of the stupid cartoon sound effects altogether, please, please, please. Plus, let the villains and their minions actually be scary. So what did you think of Next Mutation if you've seen it? Let everyone know in the comments below. Plus, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I've been Jamboree. Cheerio, folks.
They want to play games? They're messing with the wrong guy.
What are you in for?
Killer clowns from outer space.